I want to bring in 3 eyewitnesses to these unexplained phenomena. And they're not just any witnesses, but 3 names that we all know very well, people that I know well and trust and are my friends. News Nation correspondent Rich McHugh happened to be with New Jersey police last night, out doing the job when he spotted the drones. We've got Dr. Catherine Ramsland, forensic psychologist. This woman doesn't lie. She writes the books, by the way. She saw the drones 2 nights in a row. She's known here for taking us inside the mind of serial killers. She saw half a dozen drones in Pennsylvania. I also want to welcome Scott Rouse, our go-to behavioral and body language expert. I know Scott well. He tells the truth. He saw the drones over Tennessee. I mean, look at these 3 have all seen them. What is going on? I want to start with Rich McHugh, though, because, Rich, you were out on the story last night, didn't know what to expect, and take it from there. I mean, what happened?
I've been skeptical of this story. As a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist here, I thought it was going to be some sort of yahoos, and we would get a laugh out of this in several weeks. What happened yesterday completely changed my entire view on this story.
Describe it a little more. I mean, how big, and, when I think of a drone, you think of like it's got the 4, it's almost like a little helicopter with the 4 rotors. Are these do these look different than that?
It sounds crazy as I say this now, Brian, like that's what you're seeing on the screen. That's what we were seeing right above our heads. And it happened till about 11:30 at night. And then it started to like die off. And I was like, we could stay out here all night. But I went to bed. This is my community. I've never seen these things in the sky over my community before.
Wow. I want to go to Dr. Ramsland now. Dr. Ramsland lives in Pennsylvania. If you ever told me that I would be asking Dr. Ramsland about drones flying near her home, and we usually talk to her about killers, I wasn't expecting this, but they said, Dr. Ramsland's seeing the drones. What did you see?
A similar experience. Tonight, actually, it started last night. We were hearing about them in New Jersey, and suddenly, and we're in eastern Pennsylvania, it's as if they migrated over. I called a couple of friends, and we were texting each other as we were all of us seeing them in different areas. And the one tonight, I saw one going west. It was red blinking lights like this one. Another one was coming toward it from the west going east. And then the westward one suddenly turned around and went into formation with the one going east, turned green, the lights turned green, and then yellow. And it looked very much like what we're seeing here in these pictures.
Have you ever seen anything like it, Dr. Ramsland, and are you sure it wasn't a plane?
It couldn't possibly be a plane. It was flying low. It was within half a mile of me. There's no plane path at that point, and it didn't act like a plane. A plane can't turn that fast. And it also had oddly spiral kinds of movements that you just don't see with a plane.
Wow. Okay, so Dr. Ramsland is in Pennsylvania, Rich is in New Jersey. Scott, you are in Tennessee, so you're in a different area where we haven't heard as much about this. Tell us about your sighting.
Yeah, mine's different than your all's. Mine's a lot different. Mine don't look like what you're showing there at all. These things are round. The ones that I saw were round. And they've got this ring around them. And around the ring, it's got little lights on it, and the light is spinning. And on the video that I sent you guys, you can see that at first before I zoom in on it, because when I zoom in, it gets all blurry, and it looks like it's changing shapes, but it really isn't. But if you look really closely, you'll see how there's a thing spinning around it. And so I don't know mine didn't look like a plane at all. And I saw like 30 of them all together. Yeah, that thing right there was the first one. I believe that was the first one. And when it scooches in, you can sort of see that? You can sort of see there's something spinning around it.
Yep. Yeah,
but it's hooked to it. It's like a ring.
It's so hard at night to video these things. I mean, that's the thing. It's like no matter, it looks so distinctive in person. And then you look at the video, even with our new iPhones, it's just, you can't really capture it. But are you sure it wasn't a plane, Scott? Because sometimes it's hard to tell.
Positive. I think all 3 of your guests tonight, we're all professional observers, and that's one of the things that we check out. What does it sound like? What does it look like? What is it doing? What does it sound like? And that had no sound at all. And at one point there were 5 when I after I saw this one, and there were 3 up in the by themselves. and there were 2 ahead of it that came past those. And then as they went on, the other 3 started following that one. Then they split up, and then I got video of where there's one there in different sections of the front yard and the backyard. You could see them through the trees. But these were completely different than what you guys were seeing. These are completely different.
So, Rich, you've been reporting on this for a couple of days. What do you make of the Homeland Security response that essentially the people are misidentifying these objects, that most of the time it's planes, and the Homeland Security Secretary was actually on TV tonight saying, they keep saying there's no threat to the public. I mean, you've seen them for yourself. You don't seem satisfied with that response.
All due respect, Brian, to the security advisor, it's tone deaf, it's insulting. I know a bunch of state legislatures and sheriffs here in New Jersey who would be happy to talk to him. The Ocean County Sheriff told me a story yesterday that over the weekend there was one of his officers was on the beach, called 911, reported seeing 50 drones come off the ocean inland. They called everybody, the FBI, the Coast Guard, whatever. The Coast Guard went out to investigate, told them they had 13 drones following them in. This is documented stuff. This isn't just like, Bill down the street is calling this in and nobody's verifying these things. These are real people, like police officers. This is happening. So they need to get, they should be scrambling something up here, figure it out. I'm surprised they haven't put a plane up just to say, here's what we've done. But to see no response, no federal response is truly upsetting. And the longer this goes on, as I mentioned before, somebody's just going to take matters into their own hands and just, now that Trump is saying what he's saying, they're going to do it. They're going to take a rifle and shoot one of these things.
Yeah, and I mean, look, with video and phones and social media, you can't just say, oh, nothing to see here anymore. The government can't really get away with that anymore. I mean, clearly everybody's seeing it. I'm just curious, Rich, I'm looking at your video again. It's such good video you got, but you can see the blinking on it almost looks like wings, almost like a plane would, which makes me think, do you think, based on what you saw, these are some kind of military drone, some kind of technology that, because, with UFOs that we've covered, this looks like man-made, maybe, I could say, from what I'm seeing, although it's blurry. I mean, is that the sense that you got?
I hope so, Brian. That thought went through my mind, and there is some sort of hope in my brain that this is a secret military operation that at a base near here, and they're calling it red teaming, where they're coming out to test for lapses in our security and where we would be at fault. I hope that that's the solution, or that's what we find out in a week or 2 weeks. If we don't find that out, if it's not our military, it's worse. It's a scary scenario if it's not our military.
Right, if it's something from another country. What do you think, Dr. Ramsland? I mean, you've covered everything in them, from the vampires to the killers, and I mean, I'm just curious what goes through your mind when you were looking up even tonight. Do you think it's a military exercise? What's your gut telling you?
I'm frustrated with the government response, because you can't say we don't know what it is and also say it's not a threat.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what it is, you don't know that. And who knows if it's a future threat. They might be gathering intel that will come back on us eventually. And it could be a matter of national security. Why can't they act on that alone? That's potentially, it is a threat. And just rope one of those things in, take a net up there in a helicopter or something. They're not that far away from us. They're not way up in the sky. They can fly pretty low quite often.